Ever wondered what Microsoft Azure actually does? Azure is Microsoft's cloud computing platform, and it powers many websites like LinkedIn, Walmart.com, SharePoint, and then all of the Microsoft 365 applications that you most likely use in your job day to day. Not to mention, it's used by many government agencies, banks, universities, and companies in healthcare and insurance, and they all utilize Azure services. By the end of this video, you'll know the core Azure services, how they all fit together, and how to get started. Let's go. So first, a very brief intro to cloud computing. So if you work in IT or if you work in tech, I'm sure that you've heard the meme that cloud is just someone else's servers that you're using. Well, basically at the core, that's what it is. It is you renting time, using resources and services offered by a cloud service provider like Microsoft, AWS, Google Cloud. Basically, it's an oversimplification, but whenever you sign up for an account on Azure, you're basically renting resources on Microsoft's vast array of data centers. At its core, it really is someone else's server. So how it used to be done is, say that you're a small business, you need to run some accounting software. So you go out to Dell or HP, you buy a physical server, you have it shipped to your office, you set it up in a dank, dark closet at HQ, you set up the networking, set up the services, the software that's needed on the server, and you share that out on your internal network to your employees so that they are able to use that software. But with the cloud, it's different. You might see that exact same software offered as a SaaS, so a software as a service from the same provider, where all you need to get access to it is a subscription or a credit card and a login. You might also see that software being hosted, self-hosted through IaaS, so infrastructure as a service. And that's where you basically would set up a virtual machine in Azure and run the software by yourself on that server. But Azure also has hundreds of other services that are completely outside of SaaS or infrastructure as a service. Something like platform as a service, which is where you'd spin up a Azure function that would be running some type of code or some type of script. Maybe you want to automate something on your website. So whenever someone clicks a link or fills out a form, on the back end, that Azure function is fired, it runs the code, and then it provides some type of output to the website. So there are obviously just hundreds, maybe even thousands of services that you could potentially use on Microsoft Azure. But in this video, we're going to focus on kind of the core services that are used with a demo, of course. All right, so we've jumped into the Azure portal. And so to start, I just want to give kind of an overview of how you create some resources in Azure. And one of the coolest things about the cloud is how quickly you can create anything, servers, storage, as needed. So I'll jump into one of my subscriptions here, and actually, I don't even need to do that. I'll go to virtual machines and I'll create a virtual machine. This will be a brand new VM. So I have it in my development subscription, and I don't have any resource groups, but I can create one now. So test group, totally good. Hit OK, virtual machine name, test VM. And you can choose what region you want to host the VM in. And I'm going to just do West US. You can do availability zones. So if you want to have fault tolerance and have your VM across different regions, I'll just say no infrastructure redundancy required. And for an image, we can set up Windows servers. We can set up all kinds of different stuff on VMs. I guess for now we'll just do a Windows 11 machine. So I got that set up, and I'm just going to do it with one of these basic burstable 2 vCPUs, 8 gigs of memory. Perfect. Just got to set up a initial user and password. And it's got to be longer than that. Hopefully I can remember that. And we're going to leave RDP on just because that way we can easily remote desktop into it. Confirm that we have the Windows 10 11 license, and we don't. That's okay. We go to disks. We'll just leave this as is, just premium SSD. That's fine. Networking, all of this is going to kind of be default. So we just have a default virtual network here, a default subnet, and no public IP. That's fine. We might need that. Let me see. Yeah, we'll create a new. I'm going to just pull one. Test public. Okay, test public, static IP. It's giving us a little breakdown of what the cost of this machine per month would cost. Just basic network, delete public IP and NIC when VM is deleted, management. Don't need to really worry about this, so review and create. We're trying to make this quickly. We're going to delete this machine after, so it's all good. And create. And then we just wait for our virtual machine to get deployed and boot up, and this is usually a pretty quick process. So while we wait for that to go, so that is the manual way of setting up resources, but you can also use the Azure CLI. So there's a built-in terminal in Azure. You can also connect to the terminal, use what are called ARM templates to deploy resources. Basically, you use like a JSON file that has predetermined settings for, like, say, a virtual machine or something, and you can feed that into Azure, and then that way you can pretty easily replicate what kind of deployment you're trying to do. So if you have a virtual machine that you know you have to create multiple instances of it, it's a really like programmatic way to be able to set up resources instead of clicking through all the buttons and everything in the portal. All right, so our deployment succeeded. So now we can go back to virtual machines, or actually let me go back one more. So within our subscription, we can see, we can go to resource groups or resource visualizer, and we'll see things are kind of nested in Azure. So we have our subscription, which has our resource groups, and then within that resource group is our resources. So we click into that. And the resource groups are kind of like a bucket, like a way to organize the different resources under an account. And subscriptions are how you get charged for the resources that are running. So test VM, go to this, and we can see it's running. We can stop it here, restart it if needed. We can make an image of it if needed, and we can connect via RDP. So since it has a public IP, we'll make sure everything is open right now. So we'll be able to connect via this public IP. And let's just pull up remote desktop. So we put in the public IP. It's going to ask for, if I got it right, ask for a certificate to connect. Looks like I did it. Yep, there we go. And we're instantly into the Windows 11 Pro machine, just like that. All right, so I want to talk about a few more of the core services in Azure. So storage accounts. Now this is a big one. Cloud storage. There are a lot of different ones. I won't explain all of them, but really the initial storage account is blob storage. So this can be really any kind of data that you're trying to use, and a lot of times blob storage is used for things like backups. But then besides blob storage, there's kind of more specific storage accounts. So like Azure Files, which is going to work similarly to like a file share that you'd have on a Windows server on-prem. Block storage. So block storage is how like virtual machines use disks, and those are block storage. So like Azure disks, OS disks. So like this, we can see we have one here because we set up that Windows 11 VM, and our VM is using block storage for that data. Another core service within Azure is virtual networking. So we kind of set this up a little bit whenever we created our virtual machine, but if we go back to our virtual machine, we can go to networking and network settings. And here we'll have, basically it's kind of like a firewall. Like you have your firewall on your client, or you have one set up on your network. But this is a network security group. That's how they're kind of managed in Azure. And so you can have these inbound rules, outbound rules for ports, for services. So right now we have RDP open to the entire internet, which is not a good idea ever for our public IP, but we can actually delete this now so that no one else can get access. And so this network security group is tied to our virtual machine's kind of virtual network interface card, or the IP that the VM is using. But that's kind of like the most basic for virtual networking. You can also have VNets that different services, say you have multiple virtual machines, they need to communicate with each other. They can all sit on, so like right here, this virtual network that we set up, we would put all those VMs on this same VNet, and then they could contact each other. They could have similar IPs and the same IP scheme for each resource. And then it just gets crazy beyond that with things like Azure Firewall, which is an actual firewall running in the cloud. You can have third-party firewalls, so like a Sophos or a Palo Alto or a Fortinet, something like that. You can have site-to-site VPNs between, like if you have servers running on-prem and you need to connect those to be able to communicate with your Azure services, you can set up a site-to-site VPN between firewalls. There's all kinds of stuff you can do with networking in Azure. So another core service would be databases. So there is like actual Azure SQL database. You could also just run a virtual machine that's running Microsoft SQL Server, but Azure SQL is kind of the cloud variant of SQL Server. It's a lot easier to maintain. Everything is just set up. You can, like right here, we could just create a new database really easily for SQL. But then there's also kind of an additional piece for cloud is the idea of NoSQL. And one of the main services for that is Cosmos DB. And this would be something that you would use if you're setting up like an API or something like that. And I'm not going to try to go into what the difference between SQL and NoSQL here, but there's lots of other options as well for databases within Azure. And then the final service that we're going to talk about is Azure AD, which is now called Microsoft Entra ID and has changed names, like I swear, like 4 times. It's kind of the main identity and access management for Azure. And it's what, like a lot of the Microsoft 365, what that's all based off of is Entra ID. So you set up your users, you set up your security groups, give users access to resources. So users, groups, devices. So if you're using something like Intune, you'll see devices that are joined to your Entra ID domain here as well. It's just a very robust service to give access to resources. So say you set up these VMs in Azure and you need to give specific users access to connect to them. You could use Entra ID for that, or they might have an endpoint that they're using and they just need an account to log in, and that endpoint is joined to Intune, which authenticates through Entra ID. So I already talked about a couple of real-world use cases for Microsoft Azure services, but here's a few more. So first off is hosting a website. So you can set up a really simple storage account in Azure and literally just check one box that says static website. So basically whatever URL is provided to you can be hosting a website. And then you can upload your HTML, your CSS, whatever you need for your site and host those files in a static website. So it doesn't have any like JavaScript kind of functionality unless you want to add that with something like a function app. But it does, if you just have a brochure type website, you can really easily upload those files. It'll have a public URL that you can point to with your domain service, and there you go, static website. Another very common use case in small and medium-sized businesses is to use Azure, use any of the cloud providers for backup and disaster recovery. So you can set up a blob storage account, and you can have services that will automatically upload your backups. Like say you're running some servers, or maybe it's even just like your actual workstations. You can upload those backups to Azure and have them in the cloud so that they're in a separate location from your main office in case something goes wrong. There are also plenty of security and compliance use cases. We talked a little bit about backup for disaster recovery, but there's also services in Azure like SIEM, so Microsoft Sentinel, and that can be set up as a SIEM in the cloud. You can connect all your data points to it as needed. There's things like Microsoft Defender for cloud, so that can monitor cloud resources as needed, but it can also monitor like endpoints. If you want to go deeper and really dive into Azure and learn more, be sure to check out the AZ900 or the AZ104 certifications from Microsoft. They have a lot of free resources on Microsoft Learn. So let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this overview of Microsoft Azure. I hope that you learned something, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit like and subscribe and share it with a friend or colleague. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.